Welcome to Glory to God podcast. This is your host, Jay Samariba. And we want to wish everyone a happy new year 2021. And there's no better way we thought to start 2021 with the special guest of Kendra. Let's welcome Kendra, everybody. Hey,
Hi,
Kendra.
everybody.
How's it going? How's your Monday?
It's going well. Typical Monday, dealing with kids and Monday stuff. So I'm blessed. No complaints.
So Kendra, you play a bass, and you're a beast on the bass. I've had the pleasure of seeing you play the bass almost every Sunday because you play at our church. And how long have you played the bass?
Man, oh man, this is embarrassing. I'm showing my age a little bit, but like I'm probably, I think I'm going on about 17 years now.
Wow,
So yeah,
man, that's
it's been a
dedication
while.
right there. 17 years of playing the bass. Wow, wow. What made you pick up the bass?
Um, Gosh, so I remember um initially, so at my old church when I was younger, I started off playing drums actually. And
Uh,
I remember, I know it's crazy, but I like playing for the children's choir and things like that. And I remember there was a guy that went to our church named Derek, and he played the bass. And he was really good. I just remember when I was younger, just I kind of migrated to his side of the church, and just I used to sit and just like stare at him and watch him play all the time. And at some point, I just remember thinking like, I think I could do that. Like I want to try that. And so, from there, the rest is history.
was it self-taught? Was it take? Did you take any
I'm
lessons?
definitely um for the most part, I would say I'm mostly self-taught. So literally I didn't start learning, music theory and the fundamentals of what I was doing literally until I was in college, I think.
Wow.
So it was quite a ride because it almost forced me to kind of like, I felt like I was starting over. It was just like so much that I had to take in. And
Man.
um it really, yeah, it really took me back to square one. And just, I had to relearn a lot of things from there, but I'm, mostly self-taught for sure.
That's awesome, man. And in 17 years, obviously, you've had to practice to get to where you're at. And that's amazing that you've
Mhm.
dedicated all that time to become the beast musician you are. And you're a full time musician, right?
Yes, I am.
So, and in that, that's just amazing that obviously, one, you're obviously so sought out, Kendra. I mean, you're such an amazing bass player. I've seen your clips on your Instagram. I was so glad when you started doing covers. I was like, this is just too much, and it was great to know that. I'm like, man, she plays at my church. You know that, right? You know that she plays at TC. So it's some that's just so amazing. So obviously, being a full time musician, when did you become a full time musician? When did you take that step or make that decision?
I think I started full time probably back in like 2004. And at that point, I was kind of between, I think I was transitioning between schools. So I transferred from a community college at PG Community, and I was transferring to Bowie State University. And what I did was, it was crazy because I, first of all, I changed my major completely. So initially I was in the medical field,
Okay.
and a, a whole bunch of stuff happened with that. And so I was kind of just in between what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, because at that point music was a hobby. And I said,
Hmm.
well, let me start taking some music courses while I'm trying to figure out what I want to do.
Man.
And by the time I took a year off before I went to Bowie State. And then when I got to Bowie State, I had decided that I wanted to try to, um, really learn music and really buckle down. And I majored in music technology at Bowie State, and
Mm.
the rest is history. So
No, that's awesome, and I mean to see that. like you said, God has placed that talent in you, but you made the decision and you put the hard work to get to where you're at. So, at what
Definitely.
moment did you feel like God leading you to, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be?
I'm not sure if I can pinpoint a moment. I
Mm,
do believe that, at least for me, God speaks to me through events
mm,
and through things that people say to me and
mm,
confirmations and things like that. So I feel like he was always uh, confirming that for me and pushing me towards that. So, like through his provision,
yeah.
even when I was in college, when I was finishing up at Bowie State, I was literally working in that field already. So whenever I wasn't in school or in class, I was like already doing gigs, and I was, networking and just meeting people that allowed me to, take it to the next level. But God was always providing for me. And that's one
That's
thing
awesome,
that
man.
I noticed, that I would always get like a word from somebody at the right time, or something would happen and he would just give me exactly what I needed at that moment.
Mm.
And those were kind of little things that I knew that, this is where he wants me to be, and this is where, I need to stay. It was his provision.
Yeah, and that's amazing because you obviously there's no coincidence that God did that for you in those times and confirmed through people. I'm a big believer that God uses people, and He speaks to us through people, and sometimes in what they
Right.
say, and the provision piece. I mean, you took a leap of faith being a full time musician, and God has provided, and that's the faith that you have in God, and that's amazing. And I think a lot of it, I'll be honest. I mean, you're such a humble person. I've known you for some years now, and I
Mhm.
think that that plays a big role in it. It's character. I mean, your humbleness, we admire that about you. My family does. Everybody does. So it's just amazing to hear that. Do you remember your first gig?
That's a good question. I don't know if I remember my first gig.
Uh huh.
Yes, I do. Actually, when I was at PG Community College,
Okay.
and this is the thing, this is God's provision and him
Yeah.
putting me in the right places. When I started, I joined jazz band, and I
Mm.
met a guy, random guys that went there. There was a guy that was not in our class. He was a little older than us. He would come in and play, and this guy, he played piano, and he played like classical and all of that stuff. He was really, really good. He took me under his wing. I had to be like 18, and he just took me under his wing and said, I want to teach you gospel. I can see, um, a lot of potential in you, and I want to teach you how to. I can tell that you can already play by ear.
Mm.
And he took me under his wing, and he said, I remember learning how to, because I already played by ear. He taught me things like how to anticipate, which is why even now I can pick up music really fast.
Yeah.
He taught me how to anticipate. He taught me like the changes of traditional, as many people say, black gospel and things like that that you would hear at a black church. He taught me a lot of that stuff. And my first gig was him saying, why don't you come to my church on Wednesdays and play at Bible study? And he was like,
Mm.
I'll pay you $25 an hour. So I was
Wow.
like, I'm going to make $50.
You were like, sign me
So,
up. Sign me up right now.
yes, I was like, I'm going to learn stuff and I'm going to like make money. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So that was my first gig, actually, playing at a Bible study.
Wow. And
Yep.
look at God just confirming that through a Bible study. And that some people would
Right.
be like, oh, I need a service for confirmation. No, he confirmed it for you at a Bible study. And that just
Right.
speaks
Right.
volume of our God that we serve because he can confirm things in any situation. And
Hmm.
that's amazing. But can you see the growth that you've made from your first gig to now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, learning the fundamentals and learning music
Yeah,
theory.
let us know. You said you noticed the growth from the beginning to now, and you were looking at some of the
Oh
yeah.
right. So yes, I remember starting from square one, and I feel like once I started to get into music and learn the theory behind everything, learn what notes I was playing, I really got super timid.
Mm.
And so I actually went through this period where I lost gigs and people didn't want to play with me that much because I just lost that confidence that I had.
Mm.
Um, that was just my passion for playing, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. And it took me a while to kind of build that back up again. And I was able to, learn from that and just grow. And just like, I would say, well, some of Kevin. At the time, he was, we were dating for a while before we got married. But he would tell me, even at that time when I was like in that little, that valley, he was like, you have to always, play like everyone is watching or you don't know who's there. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's always someone there, that there could be somebody that could change your life. So always, play your best, do your best, always put your best foot forward, and, stop worrying about what you're doing wrong. You can always fix that. So I took that, and it took me a while to really, build my confidence back up, but I can definitely see the growth from back then. I would
No.
hate to hear myself
I was
that
gonna
long
say, do you
ago.
have any videos of when you started and maybe seen any of those
Yeah,
videos?
I do.
Oh man. I was gonna say, please share them. No, and like I said, I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, it takes growth. It's a process. We can all say we look back and say, man, where we're at now and where God has brought us. And obviously, you've had to work hard in that time. And I think I know. Obviously, one of my things is, what is the funny story you have of a gig, or what's a funny story you would like to share with the audience at a gig that you've been
So yeah, we're definitely gonna try to keep it ha ha funny and not like embarrass
to?
funny, but
All
so
right.
many things. Um, so as Jonathan mentioned, we all, we serve at the same church, and I actually played in a band with the praise and worship leaders, Eddie and his wife Damaris, and this was, I want to say, this might have been before I started getting into the music classes, I think.
Mm,
So they had a band called Just One Blood, and we had a gig in Rochester, New York. We, all got in a 15 passenger, went up there to this big festival. And there was a guy there that I believe was like the stage manager. And he saw me with this big thing on my back, and I guess he thought it was cute. So he literally treated me like this little, 6-year-old girl. He was talking to me weird. He was like,
oh man.
"What you got there?" And so even to this day, when people do that, I kind of play along. So I'm a little soft spoken already. So I was just like, oh, it's just a bass. And he's like, you think you can really play that? And I was like, I guess we'll see. Um, so, but the
Oh
whole time
man.
he was just talking to me like I didn't know anything. He went and was just like, showing me the equipment. This is a bass amp, and this is the volume. You know what that is? And I was like, I guess. And so
Little
um,
did he know.
I
Little
was,
did he
yes,
know the
yes,
beast
little
he
did he know,
had.
I was a little irritated after that. And I proceeded to, as musicians say, break my foot off in his behind. So we did that, and we did the gig. We were actually missing a couple of pieces. Some changes happened last minute, and
Mm.
we tore that place down. And needless to say, after the gig, and he shook my hand and everything.
You were sharing the story about the gig. Obviously, that guy who spoke to you in a way like, "Oh, do you know what you're doing?" and things like that. And obviously, it is funny to see that. Unfortunately, people are still like that. But I love obviously the way you handled it, because some people obviously can get very like you can make a scene and everything, and sometimes I believe in that God. There's moments for that, but I also know that God. There's moments where we have to just all right. Let's just get through this time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's I mean that's great that you did that. But that also brings me to my next question, because when I think about the situation or the story you just shared, I think about all the girls out there who want to pick up an instrument. And I think that we think sometimes society puts it in their mind that, oh, only men play bass, or only boys play the drums, or only boys can do certain things. And in reality, no. Look at you. You're an amazing bass player. I'll be honest, way better than a lot of people in the area. So, what advice would you give to a little girl who wants to pick up an instrument and people are possibly telling them no?
That is a great question. Because that is my experience. That's my life.
Mm,
I'm always prejudged. I'm
mm,
always, misjudged.
mm,
And I feel like God has really taught me in those moments to one, choose my battles.
yeah.
Um, I used to really get upset and, let it bother me and things like that. But I definitely learned how to uh, take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
Mm,
You have to let your work speak for itself. And like you said, like your character, let your character speak for itself. If I was talking to a little girl, I would tell her to, if this is what you want to do it, but put all of your strength and your everything that you have, dedicate yourself to that. um One thing that we have to make sure we're doing and make sure we're being is, make sure we're knowledgeable. So, I'm not the type of person that I will just, play bass and I can't talk about the technical side. I love to talk the nerdy stuff about bass. I like to um, learn about the woods and how they're similar and different, and the electronics that make up, you know, um, the preamps and all the technical stuff. So I would definitely encourage any young girl, stay with it. You do have to develop some tougher skin in general, and I feel like anybody in entertainment business or in music business has to do that because people are always judging you. um, but then in order to kind of, balance that out, you have to remember that art is subjective. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
you can do your best and there will still be people that, that's okay. I mean, I wouldn't hire them for my party or whatever. Just like when you see a work of art, some people will love it, some people won't understand it, some people will hate it.
Mm,
It's subjective. So that kind of keeps you from getting your feelings hurt as much.
yeah.
You have to realize that, you know what I mean, it's still art. What you're
Mm-hmm.
doing is still art performance. And I would just say make sure that you're knowledgeable and educating yourself on everything about the bass, so you can make sure that when you walk in somewhere and you pull out your bass, you know what you're talking about, you know
Yeah.
what you're playing, and you know what you're handing to other people. You're knowledgeable and you're educated on that. So just have all your bases covered. I would encourage any girl, do it.
That's amazing, Kendra. I mean, I have a daughter of my own, Michaela, and
Hmm.
I think about Michaela a lot in that aspect that I don't want her to ever feel like because she's a girl she can't pick up a certain instrument because she loves music.
Right.
She loves to sing, but I've always told her I was like, baby, if you want to pick up a bass, you want to pick up I don't know, a keyboard, I don't know what it is you want to do. You want to play the drums? I'll show you.
Right.
I'll show you the little I know. But
Yeah.
I would love for her, and I just think about the other girls out there. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
maybe that person didn't mean bad intentions or anything with what he was saying, or maybe he just doesn't know what he's doing. But in reality, sometimes we don't know, but we can
Mhm.
discourage somebody from picking up something that they're really talented at. I mean, I grew up with
Right.
I grew up with a sister who played the drums, and I think that's kind of what opened my eyes that, oh man, my sister is good on the drums. She's better
Right.
than me. So
Yeah.
there's definitely women out there that can kill it on certain on instruments that it's dominant has been dominated by men for years, but that doesn't mean a female cannot play it. And I think it's amazing,
Yes.
obviously, what you said to those girls that yeah, pick it up, keep going, and it's true. Tough skin. I think that's a great piece of advice. And it's just amazing to see where you are. You obviously have Chloe, so I can't wait to see what Chloe does. and
Yeah.
we'll see what she picks up. But
Yeah.
where did you feel, or well, I would say for me is obviously where did you feel that all right, God, where do you feel like God is like, kind of directing you now with the bass and everything? You said you're obviously learning. You love knowledge. Is he? Do you feel like he's leading you to other things as well?
That's a great question, Jonathan. I'm really in a place where I'm learning my, where to draw the connection between passion and purpose.
Mm,
And so I feel like God is showing me in this season. Um, Obviously, because of the times that we're living in this pandemic, a lot of musicians are not working the way they once were. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? Musicians are, for the most part, people that, play in clubs and play in, concerts and large gatherings. So it's hard to work at the same level you were working at. So I think God is using this time to really show me what my purpose is. And I think He's directing me into a place of education.
mm,
So I use that to say this. I have been working on starting a business with a friend of mine.
mm,
She's also a music in music. She's more of an artist and a singer, but we realized we had this same vision, and
mm-hmm,
so we created this business that's still in this infancy stages, but this business is something that's going to create a platform for musicians, creatives, and anybody that is doing some type of art on a public scale.
mm,
And so what that platform does is it educates people that want to basically make their passion almost like your full-time job. So
wow.
we'll be doing things like kind of sort of what you're doing, but bringing on people in different aspects of music business. So it might be somebody that specializes in taxes and
Mm,
teaches you how to say, as if you're a musician, obviously you're working as a self-employed person. You get 1099s as opposed to W-2s. So bringing someone on to educate musicians and creatives on how to do your taxes or how to handle your finances,
mm, yeah,
bringing someone on that has, say, been on tour for months at a time and can tell you their experiences and what they learned from being on the road for lengthy periods of time,
yeah.
things like that. So,
That sounds like
I
an.
think that's
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah.
No, I was
No,
gonna
no, no, I
say
was
that
just
sounds
gonna
like an
say
amazing idea, man. So yeah,
yeah.
sorry, sorry, gonna go ahead.
I was just going to say that's where I feel like God is leading me. Just more of a
Mm,
um, education area in terms of just helping other people that are in the music business, like you say, younger girls and people that really want to do this full time, bridging the gap between your passion and making this work for you. You know what I mean? So you
yeah,
can do music or you can do this full time also.
yeah. I think that's a dream, and it's amazing. I think through experience you gain education, and that's
Right.
education that you can pass down. And obviously, this is stuff that you are going to be able to pass down to Chloe and Matthias, but also to other people. And I think that's amazing, and I love that. I love any idea that it essentially is giving back, and that's a great idea. And like you said, God, I'm also a big believer that although sometimes we want to find our purpose and we want to just find it now, sometimes it's a grooming process. And obviously, God
Mhm.
has groomed you through these years, through gigs, through everything. And I think it's amazing to see where you're at, Kendra. Again, I think I was so excited to start the new year with you. I'm so excited for obviously what you're going to do. And we were just so happy to have you on. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties again,
No
but
worries. No worries.
but we got through the show, and again, I know our viewers definitely loved it, and I'm definitely excited. I can't wait to bring you back on, and we definitely gonna have to schedule that ASAP.
Sounds good.
All right, Kendra. All right, everyone. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties. And again, we just can't wait to see you for our next show. Stay blessed and remember that everything we do can bring glory to God.